A federal judge in Michigan has decided that a whole slew of Trump lawyers involved in those efforts should be disbarred as lawyers, or to be specific, she has ruled tonight that they must be referred to disciplinary authorities in their home states, quote, for investigation and possible suspension or disbarment, meaning having their law licenses suspended or being disbarred, being kicked out of the legal profession. This judge's order tonight applies to Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, who will be referred to the Bar Association in Texas for potential disbarment. Trump lawyer Lynn Wood will be referred to the Bar Association in Georgia for disbarment. This broad sanctions and potential disbarment order from this federal judge reaches out and hits all 9 of these Trump lawyers in jurisdictions all across the country. A judge ruling that a lawyer should be referred to his or her home state bar association and disciplinary authorities for potential disbarment. This is a rare and extreme measure. Actually demanded that Michigan should be forced to give its electoral college votes to Trump, even though Biden won Michigan and that result had already been certified. A federal judge dismissed that case soon after it was filed. It never had a prayer. But the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit went back to the judge after the judge had dismissed the case to ask the judge to consider doing more. What Detroit and the state of Michigan told the court was this: plaintiffs filed this litigation for an improper purpose. It was never about winning on the merits of the claims, but rather plaintiffs' purpose was to undermine the integrity of the election results and the people's trust in the electoral process and in government. The filing of litigation for that purpose is clearly an abuse of the judicial process, and it warrants the imposition of sanctions, meaning sanctions on the lawyers. Well, this has been spooling out over a period of months, and now tonight, in a very readable, frankly, sort of riveting 110-page ruling, a ruling that NBC Justice correspondent Pete Williams calls, quote, blistering. The judge in this case has basically agreed with the state of Michigan and the city of Detroit on everything they were asking for. And so now all 9 of these Trump lawyers are facing potential disbarment. I'm going to just read to you a little bit from the ruling. You'll see what I mean about it being very readable and kind of riveting. Quote, this lawsuit represents a historic and profound abuse of the judicial process. The question now before the court is whether plaintiffs' attorneys engaged in litigation practices that are abusive and in turn sanctionable. The short answer is yes. Individuals may have a right within certain bounds to disseminate allegations of fraud that are unsupported by law or fact in the public sphere. But attorneys cannot exploit their privilege and access to the judicial process to do the same. And when an attorney has done so, sanctions are in order. Attorneys have an obligation to the judiciary, to their profession, and to the public to conduct some degree of due diligence before presenting allegations as truth. They have an obligation to advance only tenable claims. The attorneys who filed this lawsuit abused the well-established rules applicable to the litigation process by proffering claims not backed by law, proffering claims not backed by evidence, but instead speculation, conjecture, unwarranted suspicion. They proffered factual allegations and claims without engaging in the required pre-filing inquiry. And they dragged out these proceedings even after they acknowledged that it was too late to attain the relief sought. This case was never about fraud. It was about undermining the people's faith in our democracy and debasing the judicial process to do so. Plaintiffs' ultimate goal was the decertification of Michigan's presidential election results and the certification of the losing candidate as the winner. This lawsuit was not about vindicating rights in the wake of alleged election fraud. Instead, it was about ensuring that a preferred political candidate remained in the presidential seat despite the decision of the nation's voters to unseat him. Plaintiffs' counsel advanced this lawsuit for an improper purpose and will be held to account for their actions. Despite the haze of confusion, commotion, and chaos counsel intentionally attempt to create by filing this lawsuit, one thing is perfectly clear. Quote, plaintiffs' attorneys have scorned their oath, flouted the rules, and attempted to undermine the integrity of the judiciary along the way. As such, this court is duty-bound to grant the motion for sanctions. In their closing arguments to the court, the lawyer for Detroit asked the judge in this case to, quote, let the world know that attorneys in this country are not free to use our courts to spread lies and undermine our democracy. Detroit's lawyers asked the court to sanction the Trump lawyers, require them to pay the costs of the court case, including the other side's attorney's fees. They asked the court to refer these lawyers for disbarment, in part as a deterrent against any other lawyers who might try to use the court system in the same way. And tonight in this ruling, this federal judge agreed with every one of those points. The judge in her ruling even cited Detroit lawyer David Fink's memorable contention that the Trump lawsuit was, quote, the dangerous product of an online feedback loop derived not from a serious analysis of case law, but from the rantings of conspiracy theorists, sharing amateur analysis and legal fantasy in their social media echo chambers.